The amount of people that try to start learning how to code and end up failing or giving up is way too high. And I think that, to reduce your probability of failing and giving up, there's a couple of problems that you just have to identify, a couple of big obstacles that I'm not going to lie, are quite difficult to overcome. But once you do overcome them, you're so much stronger. And if you can identify these obstacles early on in your career, get rid of them, learn how to cope with them, it's going to make your progress so much faster. It's going to make your job so much easier. You're going to see that it's a lot easier to, stay consistent if you get rid of a couple of bad habits. So hey guys, welcome back to another video. What we're going to be talking about today are these bad habits that you should avoid. We're going to be talking about why people fail at coding and what are some things you can do to be successful, right? To not try for a month and then give up, to not start learning one language and then think it's too hard and then give up and go to your next thing, right? Today we're going to be talking about things that will help you stay consistent, stay committed, and not give up. So if you're new to the channel, what we do here is we talk about software engineering at a high level, and I try to give you guys tips on how you can become a software engineer, whether you're in high school or whether you already have a full-time job and you're trying to switch career paths, right? I try to give you guys as much advice as I can from my own experience to make your jobs that much easier. If you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. So why do people fail coding, right? The first thing, obviously people don't realize how much of a time commitment it is, how much effort you have to put in, and how much you might have to sacrifice to really succeed in coding. It took me a whole university degree for almost 5 years to learn how to code and to really get comfortable, confident in my ability to code. So people expecting to do this in a couple of months, obviously you can make a lot of progress in a couple of months, but you definitely won't be like the finished article in that time, and you won't be like a pro, right? You might be like a junior, kind of like a more beginner developer, and you really have to keep working. But what people don't realize is you have to invest months, years potentially, and you do have to sacrifice a lot of things, especially if you're, older, you have a family, you have other responsibilities, right? You're going to have to make that time to learn how to code. And a lot of people don't realize that. How you can avoid that, how you can stay committed regardless of the situation you're in is, look at the situation you have, look at the reality of your life and accept that reality and kind of try to build a schedule or build some sort of lifestyle around your existing responsibilities, right? If you're a student, if you're younger, great, you're extremely lucky, and take advantage of this time where you have so few responsibilities and really go hard. You can work 8 hours a day on your coding. Like there's no reason why you can't, right? You don't have kids, you don't have any other, like mortgages or anything like that. So if you really evaluate the reality of the situation that you're in and formulate a plan, there's no reason why you can't succeed. Another reason why a lot of people fail is they start coding, they realize that it's like, a different way of thinking, and then they think they're not good enough or they're not smart enough. And this is classic like imposter syndrome. I've talked about this before on my channel, and a great way that I kind of coped with imposter syndrome in the past when I thought I wasn't good enough is that you got to realize that a lot of people are in the same kind of position that you're in. You're not alone in this. There's tons and tons of people that are going through the exact same thing. And basically what helped me get through it is because I realized, I'm not the only one. This happens to everyone. That kind of changed my attitude towards it and made me work harder and realize, it's not that big of a problem. I am good enough. I'm smart enough. And yeah, it really helped me get over that obstacle. And a big reason why a lot of people fail is they start learning how to code, right? Okay, I want to learn JavaScript. I want to make an app. I want to make Facebook. I'm going to start learning. A week after I started learning how to code, I start making Facebook, and I take on this massive project by myself. I have no idea how to host anything in the cloud, no idea how to, write endpoints, make an API, have a database. I have no idea how to do this stuff. All I know is like basic JavaScript. And so I'm trying to build Facebook, and very quickly I realized that I don't know what I'm doing. I have zero idea what I'm doing actually, and wow, this is a lot harder than I thought it was. I thought I'd be able to, at least build something. And then I realized, wow, okay, this is really hard. This is going to take a long time. And I kind of get overwhelmed. You know that feeling when you feel like you're drowning and you're like, wow, okay, like I can't do this. And then I give up, right? People try to take on too much and do too much without really putting the time in first. Like you don't realize that you have to, start very small, start very simple, and build your confidence, build up your kind of repertoire or your arsenal, whatever. I don't know what words I'm using, but build up a library of like small little projects then you can do more complex things, right? Don't try to tackle the hardest project in the world or the biggest, most complex project, because you're going to fail, and it's going to reduce your confidence. It's going to make you not want to keep going because, you're not having fun. You're not enjoying the whole process. You're just struggling, and you're having a hard time. So obviously, no one likes doing that. You're going to fail, and you're going to stop trying. So don't do that, guys. Avoid that. If you want to build something small. It's a great way to learn is building projects, which I'm going to talk about next. But yeah, just build small projects. So on that topic, a lot of people end up failing to learn how to code because they're not learning in the right way, in the way that's right for them, right? So for example, some people don't learn well in a lecture. Some people can't learn well visually. They need more, hands-on explanation. Some people do better in like labs as opposed to a massive lecture. So everyone has a different way of learning, and this applies to computer science as well, right? It's like you can go to a school, you can go to a boot camp, which is a lot smaller sizes and it's a lot more focused. You can teach yourself, which is going online and kind of looking at these different services that offer services to learn how to code, right? There's so many different ways to learn that oftentimes, maybe you're just not learning the right way. Maybe maybe like if you're trying to teach yourself, maybe the videos aren't the way to go, but like a more in-depth tutorial. Maybe for some people, just coding right away and not reading as much is a better way for them to learn. And other people, they would rather take a lot of notes and then slowly start coding. But regardless, everyone has their own pace. Everyone has their own way of learning, and you just have to find what's right for you. Don't just try one thing and that's it. You can switch it up. And one thing that you really don't want to do is get stuck in an endless loop of tutorials, right? We've talked about this before on the channel, and this is called tutorial hell. It's where you're hopping from one tutorial to the next, and you're just never actually coding. You're just learning all these things. You're absorbing all this knowledge, but you're never actually applying it. And what does that mean, right? You're not actually learning it. A lot of people, take one tutorial on JavaScript. It's super long. It's like, they're taking all these notes, and then they hop onto the next tutorial on Python. And what you don't realize is that you really have to code yourself. That's where the real learning is done. Until you actually write a line of code, you've learned nothing, because it's a lot different reading it than putting it to practice and applying these concepts that you've learned to solve a serious problem. So you really have to actually code. And what's the best way to learn? It's project-based learning. See, it all ties together. I've talked about this before. It's my favorite way of learning how to code, and I would recommend, exactly like what we said before, start with a very simple project, like maybe like a to-do app, right? Or just a tic-tac-toe, like anything you can come up with that you think is relatively simple. Build that like 2 or 3 times, like 2 or 3 different small projects. Then, really understand what you're doing, and then take that, scale it up, and build something more complex, right? Build something more complex, and then, do that a couple of times, and then go for something more complex. And before you know it, you're going to have a handful of projects that you'll be able to talk about, that you've learned from, that you've built upon, and it's really going to make a huge difference, and it'll be very obvious when talking to you. So guys, build projects, get coding as soon as possible. Stop wasting time and start coding. Another huge reason, and this is probably one of the biggest ones, is that when people start learning how to code, they don't set a schedule and they have no plan. Right? Before you start your first tutorial, or before you start watching a YouTube video or building a project or whatever it may be, you should have a plan laid out on how you're going to learn how to code, what you're going to do every week, what you're going to do every day. It doesn't matter how specific you get, but an overall plan with, most importantly, with some deadlines, right? If you just say, I'm going to learn Python and I want to get a job, right? That's it. If that's all you say, and then you dive in and like go on a tutorial, you won't really have any idea like how to measure any progress. But if you have, let's say, okay, this week I'm going to read this article, this tutorial. Then next week I'm going to start working on a project, and I'm going to try to complete this project in 2 weeks. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to my notes, revisit it, and kind of move on to the next chapter. And you kind of have like a plan laid out. Then let's say if I have a plan saying every 2 weeks I want to build a project, I'm going to know exactly what I'm working on every week, and I'm going to be much more inclined to actually succeed, right? Because I'll have a deadline. If you don't have a deadline for a project or something, you're just going to keep pushing it off, and you're more likely to keep pushing it off. Why not just set a deadline and force yourself to finish it? Force yourself to finish the project and achieve that deadline. In addition to that, it's really important to schedule your work time and then your free time. If you schedule, let's say 3 hours every night for coding, that's when you're going to learn how to code. That's what you're going to do. No problem. That's great. But the thing is, you're going to inevitably take breaks, right? So within those 3 hours, you might take 3 or 4 breaks, maybe 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, get a snack or watch a YouTube video, whatever it may be. And when you do these things, you might end up going over the time limit. You might end up, having some guilt. Oh, why am I playing this game right now? I should be studying. And then you're going to go back. And basically, you're going to be all over the place emotionally. What you should do is set clear times for breaks, set clear times for when you're working. So I'm going to work 1 hour, I'm going to work 45 minutes, and then relax for 15 minutes, do whatever I want. Then work another 45 minutes, then relax 15 minutes. What that's going to do is it's going to build a schedule. You're going to know when you're working, when you're working, you're completely 100% focused on work, no distractions. Then you have 15 minutes, do whatever you want, right? So that way you build a habit. And the most important thing is you're taking breaks guilt-free. The last thing you want to do is get into the habit of like when you go out with your friends or when you go out, to do anything, and then in the back of your head, you're like, wow, I should be coding right now. Wow. Like, why aren't I doing this? Why aren't I doing this? Right? If you have that kind of attitude, guys, you're going to give up so fast. You need to have a way to relax, take breaks guilt-free. That way you're going to there's so much of a higher chance that you're going to stay consistent because you're going to feel good about yourself all the time. And a couple of smaller things, guys, you have to understand that it's okay to fail. It's going to take a long time. You're going to fail at times. Just keep going. Don't give up just because you're struggling, you're having a hard time, or you're failing. You have to accept that you're going to fail and that it's inevitable, and don't try to avoid it. Try to embrace it. As soon as you can wrap your head around that, your life will be so much easier, and you're gonna, be more willing to take risks, and you're gonna succeed. And this has been said a lot. Don't compare yourself to others. Everyone goes at their own pace, and the only person you have to compare yourself to is you from yesterday. Are you doing better? Have you made progress? And always remember to stay positive. Have a positive attitude, guys. That's the most important thing. If you go into it with a positive attitude, you're gonna kill it, and you're gonna succeed. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I'd really try to give you guys some meaningful tips. Let me know what you guys think. If there's anything you agree or disagree with in the comments below, feel free to like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Feel free to follow me on TikTok too, by the way, at Johnny Vine. I'll put it down below. We're actually growing really fast from there. And I know a lot of you are from TikTok. Recently, especially in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So welcome to the channel. And yeah, guys, let me know in the comments below if there's any topics you'd like me to cover, any kind of videos you'd like to see. And as always, take it easy. Thanks, everyone.